I have the great pleasure of introducing my boss for the next talk. That made it sound like I'm kissing his butt, which I'm not. Stefan is a great mind when it comes to keeping your editors in mind. Whenever we work on a project and we are solving an issue, he's so great at asking, okay, but how are the editors supposed to use this? Which makes working with him a lot of fun. And that is, oh, and also, I thought I knew what was going to happen in this talk, and then I just talked to him. Turns out I have no idea because he hasn't spoken to anyone about this. So let's all be surprised together. Stefan, come upstairs. Thank you. Welcome. And yeah, we're going to just leave you to it. Blow us away.
Fine.
Thank you.
Please don't forget to ask questions in the app.
I will never remember saying that.
That's my job.
Yeah, so thank you for the introduction. So it looks like I'm not that bad. Hi, everybody, and welcome to my talk about my hypothesis on editors thinking content, not NodeTypes. The talk will contain generalized personal opinions, ideas we developed at our agency, and an experimental package which was released this morning. I'm Stefan. I'm Executive Technology Director at Jungfirma Tech in Zurich. And I'm working with NIAS since 10 years now, I think. It's hard to believe that it's already 10 years. And in this time, I've seen a lot of progress in the NIAS UI, in the flow framework, PHP itself, competing content management systems, and so on. Basically, everything changed in this time. Not even mentioning the whole AI topic the last few years. I've also worked on a lot of client projects where I've seen the positive effects of a good CMS. And I've seen the real struggles of the editors if something goes wrong. One of these small struggles is my topic for today. But first, some short general topics are built up on my talk. The NIAS UI already offers a great user experience right out of the box, and many optimization possibilities. There is a very good talk by Roland Schütz from the last NIASCon about how to make editing as intuitive as possible. That's why. If you did not see it yet, please scan this QR code, add to YouTube to your Watch Next list, and have a look at it later. It's definitely worth it. And you will find also other useful clips on YouTube itself. I got it. Next, I'd like to focus on already existing naming schemas I'm also using in this presentation. As NIAS developers, we create presentational components, usually based on atomic design. We also create integrational components where we fetch and manipulate data and pass it over to the specific presentational components. And we create node type definitions to define and store property values in nodes to make them dynamic and accessible in the CMS. The editors on the other side, they just see document types and content types, which get pages and content elements. They are not interested in our complex structure and naming. Their thing is documents with content in it. Even if, technically speaking, content types and node types are the same, I strongly suggest to always differentiate these two, even if we are just talking from developer to developer. if we use them separately, we immediately know what context we are in. Do we talk about something related to the editor's UI and his user experience? Or do we talk about something related to development? At the end, we are building a tool set for our clients who are definitely no developers. And it's in our interest to make our front-facing editor UI as user-friendly as possible. If we have a look at an oversimplified categorization, we also have left-sided and right-sided brain people. Left brain people are traditionally more associated with logical, analytical, and verbal skills. Right brain people are typically associated with creativity, intuition, spatial awareness, and holistic thinking. I let it up to you to choose where classical developers are located at. While the most people are somewhere in the middle, there's still a preference on one side. Just think about yourself if you're a developer. How do you think about your well-structured components and node types, the whole ecosystem? And then think about a member of the marketing team which is trying to understand which content type he or she does need to select now. Both have very different focus on their work. Both are probably very good in what they are doing. And both have the ability to make use of both brain sides. It does just need more energy to do so. If we are clearly separating content type names from node type names, and if we give us the space to create namings which is matching the client's sweet spot, we will create a much easier product for them. And in another perspective, we are not talking the same language as our clients do. I think marketing people oftentimes need to kind of learn a new language to use the tools we built for them. Even if you as a developer work with Neos since years and always used the same naming and structure of things, your client is probably new to that naming schema and your structure. He or she used a different system before, and there were definitely other functionalities and content elements. We decided that there are, for example, content types like edge slider, case teaser slider, case teaser grid, or even latest case teasers. It's maybe logical for us, but the editors do first need to learn everything. And every time they use the system, they need to translate their thoughts to the foreign language we use as developers. No worries, it's okay. Well-named and structured content types are key, and it does absolutely work. But what if we need a lot of different content types? Several similar ones for specific use cases. We mix content types. Some are driven by dynamic data, others just manually edited. Some content types are unique. Others have options for different layouts and designs. All of them are listed in the creation dialog, next to each other. Very fast, we get at a point where it does get a mess and complicated for editors, with way too many content types to select from, even if the editor just add something small. What do editors really want? To be honest, I don't know. But I have an assumption. I believe that editors are thirst thinking in their content they are creating. not the structure of the page or variations of content elements they could choose from. It's all about what editors want to share by creating these pages. All the different content types, the way we structure our node types are probably often too much. If editors want to add text, then they don't want to look for different text content types in a huge list with other completely different stuff in it. In their mind, they are just searching for text. If the editors have in mind, I would like to add some images, they want to click on images. And afterwards, they would like to decide how it should look like. Maybe as a grid is better now. A gallery, or just one image, but with 100% width as a banner. At the end, these content types on the right are the same content and node types as we used to have in the first creation dialog step. But in 2 steps, it's much easier, an easier way for the editor, kind of a wizard. First, we would only select the what, an image, and second, the how, the actual content type implementation. There's a cheap solution for that. So let's talk about the layout property. A simple layout switch is done easily and is available since the beginning of Neos, if I remember correctly. Here on the top right, we have one content type which does contain the property layout to influence the rendering by a changed CSS class or by manipulating the HTML. In this example, we could have one content type and one presentational component with different class names and some conditional changes in the presentational component. It's a bit blurry, so let's ignore that. What we actually did is we created 3 completely independent presentational components. And in the Fusion prototype of the content type, we simply load different presentational components based on the layout property. And with that YAML configuration show in creation dialog, it's super easy to have just one content type in the creation dialog and a clean editor experience by having only one content type in the creation dialog and not 3 of them. Super easy. And yes, we did it that way. We also did it as the different layouts got really different. Completely different set of properties on the same content node type. And this does make it unnecessarily complicated for us developers. Too many properties mixed in one content type. Too many client evaluation rules to handle the visibilities for the editors. It simply does get a mess really fast. It would be much better to have one content type per layout, but still with just one content type in the first step of the creation dialog. This was all theoretically and how we should not do it. Now, let's go into some recipes and maybe solutions. And let's start with dynamic data. In our projects, we often try to populate data automatically if possible. If you have a look at the cases database content type, this one is showing just some cases from the content repository. It could be the last 9 cases, 3 random cases of a specific category, or even all cases. And then it could be rendered like a horizontal slider, grid, or a list. If the editor selects this cases content type, he made two main decisions. There should be cases, and they should be loaded from the database. Which cases that are displayed and how they are rendered is not that important in this first step. The content is important. The editor may don't even need to decide what data filter should be applied or what layout should be used, because based on the document type the editor is inserting the new content element, we can automatically decide what the best match of data filter and layout could be. If we are just on a normal page, we probably need the last 9 cases to show a slider. If you are on the actual cases overview page, we probably need all cases with a filter on it. But if you are on a blog post, we probably need just 3 random cases of a specific category. And if we use the same categories for our blog posts and the cases, we can also apply the correct filter automatically. This does mean if we have a strong assumption based on the context, sometimes it's better to don't even ask the editor, but make a good automatic default decision. Of course, it's good to at least offer the possibility to change several options for the whole content type, like changing the max items shown or overriding the filter category. Or, well, maybe replace the dynamic cases by manually added ones. But this last option would be very sad, because usually this is only needed because a few but important use cases, at least for a client, a specific ordering is required for this list. I hate manually edited lists if they could have been just dynamic data. And we have maybe an alternative for that. The situation is this. We have a central data source which is used and displayed on several content types on the website. It's pretty common to set the proper default sorting, but to also allow the editors to change the sorting as they need it. There's no benefit in limiting functionality for editors. Usually DSC sorting by date is fine anyways, but oftentimes the editor would like to show specific items first, and just because it makes sense. A featured flag is maybe implemented, but is still one-dimensional and would be rolled out to all content types on which you are using the same data source. So he does create a custom list of items and has now to maintain it manually. That does need too much time to maintain and is error prone. Just think about 6 months into the future. A third of the manually added items are no longer available and the site is looking buggy. It would be better if there always is a dynamic data source in place. Have a look at our prioritize concept. This concept will help you by a simple manipulation of the existing dynamic data source. The list is usually empty, so not the 4 items are empty. By only adding, in this example, labor team, we would push this case to the first position of the dynamic data source. And after it, all other dynamic items are displayed. If we would like to push an unimportant case to the very end, we just add the auto item, which is containing all the dynamic data source items, and below of it, the unimportant case. And in the future, if one of the manually prioritized or deprioritized cases will be hidden or do no longer match the other filter arguments, it's just ignored, and the content type has still a valid, good-looking content with the expected amount of items. To make it even better, the data source of the select box should be aware of the content node settings to display only items which are available in the specific filter situation. While this prioritization concept is heavily project-specific, you have just to implement it by your own, but give it a try. So let's talk about the node creation handler. If you create a new document, you will be asked for the document title. This is done with a node creation handler. Also, the awesome Flowpack node template package is built on top of the node creation handler. So we can utilize it too. The idea is to have one content type which is there to be visible in the creation dialog, and if selected, it has to show a select box with the matching actually available but hidden real standalone content types. Basically, we hide content types, group them, and make them available on a second level. This way, we get the first step of the creation dialog from this to this. Reduced to the bare minimum of required information to take the first decision based on the editor's content thinking. Would be cool to have such a clean content type selection for the client too, right? But yes, these content types do not render anything. They are just groups of actual content types we still need to select. So if you click on images, we see a next step with the available design and data source content types, which are related to images. And where would this also be useful, this concept? On the top right, we see the old, well-known change type select box. The most of us, have this thing set to hidden or disabled it because it led to more pain than needed, especially for unexperienced editors. Here, an example of a text content type. We no longer show all other content types, but just matching ones. Nice and clean. But there's still an issue with the property, with the probably different properties on the different, completely separate content types I can select from. For an editor, it is absolutely not clear why his entered text should disappear if he does change from text section to image with text. So we built a NodeType change property mapper for that we can migrate properties from one content type to another to make the editor user experience even smoother. And yes, for this we created the JVM Tech Content Subgroups package. It's still 001, so it's an early version, but it's already easy to configure. Given we have for each relevant presentational component his own content type. We then create our subgroup content type, which are only needed for the first step in the creation dialog. In this example, we create a subgroup text and add the group key on the last line. Then we update our existing content types, which belong to this text subgroup, by adding a mix-in, hiding the content type, and adding some options to map the actual content type to one or many matching groups. So the text with images, of course, in the image and text group. And if you would like to configure a property migration, we simply add some more lines where needed. We could even add a custom class to, for example, replace an asset or migrate back and forth between a reference property and a references property, so an array of references. We could map this together. Of course, we would lose all but one if we map from an array of references to single reference, but there's still content. I'm not saying you have to use this package or even any idea or concept I showed you, but I'm super happy if you have seen some interesting ideas to take with you. And basically my core messages are, let's use the naming of content type and node type appropriately. Let's keep in mind that we developers and agency people in general think differently than our editors. Let's at least try, to reduce the amount of content types which are visible in the first creation dialog step. Let's think in content first, with an editor perspective. And let's automate stuff that is just distracting or annoying our editors. Yeah, if you would like to get in contact with me, reach me up afterwards or just scan the QR code to my LinkedIn profile. And by the way, we also have an open front-end position, so we are always open to talk about job opportunities. But for now, thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time. Oops, I'm not turned on. Here
Well,
I am.
I am.
Hi. Yep, sorry. Yeah, you told me. I know. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your insights. What do you want first, questions or gifts?
Well, gifts.
Well, we'll see. That's the famous Neos Insect Hotel.
My girls will love it.
And that's a T-box, hot and icy.
Nice, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, we do have questions, though. The first question is, as always, test. The second question is, in your node type definitions, do you use help messages for the editors? For example, in the creation dialog or in the inspector, do you think this concept can improve the UX too?
Definitely. And, well, the help messages are not enough at the moment, and there are, where's Manuel? So, we should add much more content to it, with images and more explanation which content type is, or will deliver if you click on it.
Mm-hmm. How can I achieve the multiple step creation of Node like you showed?
Well, install the package and make a demo.
Hard sale. And the last question that we have is, how are the reactions of content editors to your customers to this approach?
No reaction. We did not try it yet with a client which had the old system and got the new system. So it was kind of that way in production sites, but not with a change from an old system to this new one. So we have no comparison, no direct comparison.
I can spoiler though, when he first showed me the concept, I hated it. I thought, nobody's going to use this. This is weird because I don't think in content. I'm a developer, I think in NodeTypes, and I completely rejected the idea. And then he clicked me through it, and I went, oh, shit, that works. So that was my reaction, not a customer, though. Yeah, thank you so much.